and welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jackie Featherstone. I'm a solution engineer here at PowerSchool, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to you today about PowerSchool special programs. Let's go ahead and start off with you introducing yourself to us, your name and your title.
Yep, so I'm Kadion Phillips. I'm the Director of Technology here in Oxford Public Schools. We're a small suburban district just outside Worcester. So Worcester's in Massachusetts. We're about an hour out of Boston. Small district, 1,500 students or so. And we've been with you guys for a couple of years now.
Awesome. How many faculty do you guys have there? I know you said you're small, but do you know how many faculty, teachers?
Yeah, so we have about 150 full-time staff members, 300 when we count all the extra part-time and everyone else. Teachers, we're about 120 teachers.
Awesome. Okay, that's awesome. Now, I know you're currently using PowerSchool special programs. Can you tell me a little bit about the modules within that program that you're utilizing?
Yeah, so we're using 504 and case management. We have a pretty small ELL population, so we really didn't see the need for that. But the biggest thing we're using it for is definitely case management and 504s.
Awesome. Okay, so special education, case management, and 504. Now, when you moved to PowerSchool special programs, what prompted you to kind of start looking for a new solution?
So yeah, when we first started, when I joined the district, I think this was back in 2015, we were using a different student information system. So we actually made the switch to PowerSchool SIS first. And in that process, we also thought about changing our special programs or SPED tracking program. And we thought the integration was probably the biggest selling point when we were making that change. We didn't necessarily want to do it all at once, changing over a student information system and special programs at the same time. So we did the student information system first, and then we decided that special programs would be a great fit based on the integration with the two products.
Absolutely. We hear that a lot about the integration. Once you have kind of a streamlined platform, that definitely helps a lot of staff members. So that's nice to know that the integration was a big selling point for you. Do you know, utilizing special programs, what have you seen to be the most benefit for your staff members, your students even, and your district as a whole? Has it been the integration, or do you see other components that have benefited your staff members?
The integration is definitely the biggest selling point, but the thing that was also beneficial is having everything online and easy to access. Our previous program, it was online, but our staff members had to have a different login, so that was an issue, and it was actually difficult to access because I think it had that 2-tier login, and staff members would easily forget their username and password. It's been useful for the staff; they can easily access it at any point. And not have to rely on printed copies that they'd be using in our previous system.
Absolutely. Nobody needs another username and password, right?
Exactly.
That's awesome. Now, moving to special programs, what advice would you give to other districts that are looking to get started if they're looking at moving the student information system or to special programs in specifically?
So one benefit for us is there is a large community here. I actually just got off a call with the Massachusetts community of other users who are also using special programs, and they're also receptive to feedback. So we were in special programs actually making changes to forms that would best fit for each district and also for state reporting too. Most districts now have to have, well, with accountability and with reporting, we have to make sure the data is flowing. We have to make sure all the data is correct. So districts are looking to use a special program or looking for a solution, want to make sure first and foremost that it is it's going to be compliant with the different state agencies that you have to report to. Ease of use is always helpful. So we found that teachers and all staff members have found it very useful in terms of how, or very easy in terms of how to access the system and get the data that they need. I'll probably putting a plug for PowerSchool SIS here too, but that integration helps because the data flows back and forth. So we're always getting the most reliable data. In the past, we would have duplicate efforts where we would have someone in central office or in the schools putting in information for students. And then when they'd have to then someone in the sped office would then have to go in and enter that same information for in that system. So sometimes the data wasn't correct, especially around reporting time. We would be going back and forth between the different departments, which data is most correct at this time. So that's definitely helped to streamline the process quite a bit.
Absolutely. Reduce those redundant entries, streamline data access, making sure it's in one area. And absolutely, compliance is always a huge, huge component. So absolutely. Now, anything specifically about the special programs system that you found really helpful? I know we talked a lot about the integration, but anything from your staff members for special education or 504 that really stands out as being super helpful to them?
So I think the forms are all, again, with compliance. They fit in with the schedule that where we have to work on. So that closing the loop. So, the timeline in terms of when an IEP starts and when it's supposed to be completed, making sure that all staff members, depending on their role, has access to that particular section of the or module that they need at that particular time. Again, to make sure that the process is moving along in a legal and an efficient manner, and just access from anywhere, right? Before it's again, if we were dealing with paper and oh, we need this form completed by this week, please drop it off to the office, which was typically what they were dealing with in our previous system. Now it's all it's all integrated. Again, with that integration, where teachers were not relying on a paper copy, where when we closed our schools and they didn't have access, and that paper copy, if there was the IEP was updated, they wouldn't be able to access that. So everything stayed in line throughout the whole process.
Absolutely. It was definitely a unique year that we had, and hopefully we're trending upward from then. But it's nice to know that special programs helped you through that difficult time, allowing you to access everything online in an efficient way. That's great. Now, I know, Kadion, that you've mentioned that compliance was really important. Anything specifically about special programs that helped you to stay on top of your state compliance?
So the forms itself lends it to compliance because they're set up to be what the state requires in terms of the fields they're looking for, and whether it's the state or federal compliance there. And also the timelines is important because once you start the process, it's a ticking clock after that. So before the forms are completed. So that's very helpful. Where it tells you there's a due date and keeps you online with that. So the central office, the teachers, and everyone else who's working on a form can stay in compliance.
Yeah. Absolutely. Those due dates are so important. So we need big red flags letting them know where to stay compliant and make sure that all of that is in alignment with what's needed for state reporting. Awesome. Thanks so much for kind of walking through some of these questions with me and talking through your school process and how special program has affected your school and how it's really changed it a lot for the better, it sounds like. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell us about or talk about through your process and transition to special programs?
Yeah, so when we did the implementation, and that's often the tricky thing with districts trying to move from one system to another. That can be a daunting process in itself. And yeah, for us, for sure, especially doing student information system and then special programs, we didn't want to do it all at once. We wanted to make sure that we had enough capacity to cover it internally. But also, as we did the special programs conversion, we didn't try to, again, do it where we're going to start using it fully as on day one. So our process was we uploaded all our previous IEPs into special programs, so they were accessible for our staff and were current. But then after we did a full implementation, as the students' timeline or their IEP became due, then we would start inputting the data into the specific forms in special programs. So it doesn't have to be where we're going to go through and copy all the data and fill in all the fields right away. It was more, we'll pull in all the data that we need in almost like a hard copy or a solid copy, not something that's searchable by any means, but it's viewable. So any information that staff needed could be accessed. But then over time, since we've had it, we've gone through and updated all the different fields that we need, and now we're using all the functionality that's available.
Awesome. Yeah, that implementation and that migration can definitely be a daunting time, especially if you're doing two at once, right?
Right.
So that's really, really great to know that that wasn't as daunting as it needed to be. There was migration of information from your prior system, and then you phased in, right, by IEP, it sounded like, or documents within special programs.
Correct.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thanks so much for speaking with me today and taking the time out of your schedule to meet with us. I really appreciate that. I look forward to speaking to you again, and maybe we can talk about some more things a little later on.
Thank you. It was a great talking to you.